What's good, YouTube, man? We back with another video, man. This is another monster, Kody reading, man. I think this chapter 2, Boys the Man. They don't even want to hold y'all up, man. Let's get into it. You know this nigga ruthless, he's savage. He's probably on their way to catch some more bodies right now. Up until 1980, my mother still shopped at Buddah Market on Slauson Avenue. Owned by the Orientals, owner operated by the Orientals. In the summer of 1980, my mom asked me to accompany her to Buddah Market to shop. I refused with vigor, but my resistance was in vain. My mom didn't understand the complexities of our conflicts with other gangs. We were trying to kill each other, but up until then, she's always took my spiel about our seriousness as melodramatic exaggeration. I went to Buddah Market with her that day, and I weighed 2 pounds extra. I had a Browning 9mm with the 14 shots. It was unusually bright afternoon, and I recall feeling light and almost happy, content actually. Riding up Slauson past Crenshaw, I remember tensing and cringing as I read line after line of their graffiti on the walls and buildings. Amusing myself, I jokingly asked Mom to pull over so I could cost them out. Talking about the 60s, the rolling 60s, of course. In return, I got a "you a damn fool" look, and then I noticed Mom's face cloud over with what I could be utter helplessness. Ironically, I never gave stopping an inkling of a thought. This was my career, my calling. As church folks say, when someone does well with something, we travel further west past West Boulevard, passing our old street. We both looked right briefly, turned into Buddha's Market parking lot. I turned, tightening my belt, and gave my appearance a once-over. G down, short for gangster down, or dressed in gang attire. In my gear, I had on blue khaki pants and white canvas all-stars and blue sweatshirt. With my hair in braids, brownies, brown garden gloves worn by gang members for fighting and shooting hung halfway out my right black pocket, and a blue flag hung out my left. Crips were their left ear pierced and their flag off their left pocket. Blood's on the right. "Why don't you tuck in that old rag?" Mom blurted out while she gave herself the once-over. "It's not a rag, Mom. It's a flag," I said, wishing she would for once see my seriousness here. They do too much in LA. It's a flag. You got a uniform, dude. This was not some awkward stage in my life. This was a job to me, and I was fully employed. I was employed full-time, putting in as much overtime as possible. Life for the Vantage Point seemed to be as one big test of show and prove and pick and stick. Mom went through her usual greetings with the Orientals. They had known us each for years. I was on point. Not only I was in jeopardy, but I had Mom with me. And Mom, who I was sure would try to talk any enemy into doing a about face. Fat fucking chance of that happening. I remember thinking, "You remember my son, Kody, don't you?" Yes, I heard the Oriental woman saying amid other comments such as, "He's so big, so strong looking." After a few other exchanges, we started down the aisles. Canned goods, no interest here. "Mom, I'm going over to the cereal section," I said, and stepped quickly so she couldn't call me back. Turning the corner at the end of the aisle, I felt relieved to be alone. But for my safety and Mom's, I had every intention of going to the cereal section when I was distracted by a nice-looking woman in produce. I made a beeline for vegetables, and that's when I saw him. Damn, enemy. My adrenaline alarm was going off. Sonic booms of my heartbeat filled my ears. My throat got tight, and my movements became automatic. We both reached for our waistbands simultaneously. The young lady had still not looked up from her expressions of the vegetables, yet the tranquil surroundings of an otherwise routine shopping trip were about to explode around her. I managed to drop and drew first. He was still drawing his weapon. Shit, had it been a Beretta or Barnaby Jones, he would have thrown his hands up and surrendered. Not bothering to aim, I fired. Boom! Confusion and chaos swept the aisles like buckshots. Screams following in quick succession. Damn, I missed. I fired again and hit him in the torso. The bullet knocked him back, and his weapon discharged in the air. He had what sounded like a small .22 caliber weapon. Folks now knew 2 weapons were involved. One loud one, my 9mm, and one not so loud, his 22. I shot him 3 more times to create an atmosphere of intensity, then turned and went in search of my mother. Since my last encounter with the ride-by shooters, when I had emptied my clip, I learned to leave safety exit shells or left bullets in the clip in case I was left vulnerable. I had learned to keep running aimlessly about frantically looking for Mom. I totally forgot I had the gun in my hand. I tucked it while I was jogging down the household appliance aisle. Not finding her there, I panicked and remembered how I had been locked in the surplus store. I made my way to the door, and there she was among other scared-to-death shoppers. I found Mom. She was grief-stricken, and with her nerves in shambles, I grabbed her hand and ushered her away from the crowd. "Boy, was that you?" she said, hoping against hope. It wasn't. "Kody, what happened?" I made no attempt to explain. My sole intent was a timely escape. We drove back in silence, block after block. We never even looked at each other. Back against Western Avenue, I began to breathe better as I finally reflected on what I had done. Fuck him. He was going to shoot me. I justified my shooting of him with self-defense. This thing was very dangerous. We all knew each other. It's like the CIA and the FBI was going to war. There's no escaping once one-sided. I thought for sure I'd be captured for this one. After all, the Orientals knew me, and folks had seen me with the strap or gun. However, my arrest was not forthcoming. After getting out of camp in 1979, I met Tamu through my brother Kerwin and sister Candace, who all worked together at the 32nd Street Market. Tamu was a looker, tall and graceful, with a smile that shouted for attention. I was naturally attracted. However, she was older than me. In fact, we had nothing in common. She was tall, I was short. She had a job, I was an armed robber. She liked jazz, I liked funk. She had a car, I had a bicycle. She was drug and alcohol free. I smoked pot and PCB and drank beer. We clicked immediately. What the fuck? That's your habits, nigga? It's 1979 niggas doing pot, PCB, and beer? Yeah, y'all West Coast people, y'all wow. Today, she'll say she didn't chase me, but in actuality, she did. Once she and I began to go steady, she'll let me drop her off at work and keep her car until she got off, of course. Her shift was 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. My attraction was not just physical, but to the fact that she was not of my world. She was a civilian to me, and that was appealing. She was not with me because of my reputation or clout, but for me as an individual. So when I went around her, did this nigga really say clout in 1990? So when I went around her, I would present myself as Kody without the monster persona. I'd take my shades off and tuck my flag and not let her know when I was strapped. What the hell? My bad, y'all. The page done jumped. I gotta find where I'm at. And not let her know when I was strapped. I also would douse myself with some expensive cologne Mom had brought me. Later, Tamu told me I had been using too much, but at the time, she didn't want to embarrass me, for she saw I was trying to impress her. I would take Tamu up to the market and kiss her goodbye, drive to the corner and make sure she was inside and out of view, then reach in the glove compartment. I'll pull out my flag, put on my murder ones, dark shades, also called lokes or locos, button up the top of my shirt, put my strap on my lap, and drive to the hood. I did so many ride-bys, drive-ups, drive-throughs, and chaseaways in this car. It's no wonder it didn't either go to jail or get shot. I guess everyone assumed that the car was stolen. Then, too, we left few witnesses. Look at this nigga crazy, dog. Tamu and I continued to date up until the time she told me she was pregnant. Pregnant? I asked in disbelief. Yes, pregnant, she replied matter-of-factly. I was so young at that moment, just a baby myself. I panicked, anything but a child. Things had gotten too serious, out of hand. I began to dodge Tamu. Oh, don't be no fuck nigga, Kody. Tell her I ain't here. I would tell my family members to tell her when she came by. Mom, however, adored her, and then they would sit and talk for hours. Often, I'd come home from a hard day of campaigning, shotgun slung over my shoulders, and Tamu and Mom be on the front room talking. This nigga think he a war veteran. And get his ass on. I acknowledged them with a nod, then head down the hall in my room and fall out into a deep sleep. I began not to care if she saw me as monster or not. I tried to push her away with the raw reality of who I was. She wasn't budging. Besides, Mom hated China for reasons I didn't know. Perhaps she saw she and I were on the same path, whereas Tamu could be a positive influence in my life. I wasn't by any means ready to have a child, though to me, that meant settling down, another obligation. I had already pledged my allegiance to the set, so I was in a rough spot. I had to pick either Tamu and my unborn child or the set or my career in the set. This ate away with me for several months. Sure, I liked Tamu, but not enough to forbid my statue in the set. This nigga, wow. I had worked so hard to build what would be worked so hard to build what would be left to dangle in the wind, unfinished enemies I had thought would overrun the hood if no one rallied the troops. Then too, I felt the obligation to Tamu. She hadn't got pregnant alone, yeah, nigga. Besides that, the child would be totally innocent party in this matter and deserve a fair chance. In those months of concentration, I shot more. In those months of concentration, I shot more than a few civilians as my concentration was, I definitely say concentration, was continually broken with zigzag thoughts of my future. On July 28, 1980, I got a call from the hospital. I'm in labor, I heard Tamu's voice squeak over the phone. Are you coming here? Yeah, sure, I'm coming. I responded as all my confusion and indecisiveness boiled up over the brink of comprehension. I got my coat out the closet and in complete daze, not knowing exactly what to do, I reached under my pillow and took my hold of my 9mm, checking the clip, 14 shots. I was past the days of have-loaded weapons. Shit had escalated to the point where individuals were being sought for extermination. I, of course, was on the least 3 sets most wanted list. Walls told the stories. In fact, enemies spray painted my name on walls in death threats more often than I dared to advertise. Wearing my fresh patent leather shirt, big khakis and biscuits, old man comfort shoes, the first shoe officially dubbed a Crip shoe, I threw on my black bomber jacket and stepped out into the warm summer night. I walked up 69th Street to Western Avenue and took a car at gunpoint. Still in a state of indecision, I drove toward the hospital. I intentionally drove through the 60s hood. Actually, I was hoping to spot one of them before I had made it through. And what luck did I have? There was bank robber, slipping, not paying attention or not being vigilant. Hard on side street. I continued past him and turned on the next corner, parked and waited. He would walk right by me. Sitting in the car alone, I waited to push yet another enemy out of this existence. I reflected deeply about my place in this world. This nigga is really pondering about life as he about to drill by himself on the way to his baby about to be born. That's crazy. Things were totally outside the grasp of comprehension. Thoughts abounded. I never knew I would conjure up. In retrospective, I can honestly say, in those moments before a bank robber got to the car, I felt free. I guess because I had made a decision about my future. Hey, I called out the bank robber, leaning over to the passenger side. Got a light? Yeah, he replied, reaching to his pants pocket for a match or lighter. I never found out which. I guess he felt insecure because he dipped his head into the window level to see who was asking for a light. Say your prayers, motherfucker. Before you could even mount a response, I blasted him in the chest thrice and drove home to watch Benny Hill. Banger was my life. That was my decision. The next day, I woke up feeling good. I got a call from China and we talked briefly about my decision. She had totally been bent out of shape by the fact I had got a civilian pregnant. She felt disrespected as she thought she was all I needed in a woman, a lover, comrade, shooter, driver, etc. She didn't understand. Damn, my dog got holes in different area codes. I have always been intensely private, or at least I've always wanted a side of me to remain private. Being with Tamu in her world afforded me this opportunity. It was an escape to a peaceful enclave for a few months. The places she took me to, bangers didn't frequent. This was before the influx of narcotics, primarily crack, where we were all of the same economic status, broke. Now with so many ghetto rich homeboys from every set, No places beyond the grass of bangers. I needed those escapes to maintain sanity. Often I felt I was carrying the weight of the whole set on my shoulders.